Good morning and welcome to Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club. I am Sally Reyes, part of the team of Sergeant of Arms. And please take out your phone and turn it off and set it to silence. Thank you. I would like to have you help me welcome our president, who is a distinguished Toastmaster, who is part of Division D and advisor to a Division D, and is also our guardian angel over everything. The invincible Cynthia Stott. Thank you. Take it away, Cynthia.
Thank you, Sally, for that wonderful welcome. And welcome to our guests. Welcome to our members and our guests, to Leaders Worldwide. We have an amazing meeting planned for today. We are missing our Barbados and Dominica members because they are under a heap of ash from the volcano that just erupted. So we want to send our good thoughts and prayers for them in Barbados. It erupted on St. Vincent Island, which is right next to Barbados. And the other islands of the Caribbean are expecting ashfall over the next few days. So we just want to send them some love and protection and prayers. So welcome to Leaders Worldwide. We have a few guests. I'd like to welcome Elaine to talk with us and let us know who she is and why she's here today. And I think she's a second time guest. Elaine?
Is it me, Eileen?
Yes, Eileen. Sorry.
Eileen. I'm here because I enjoyed the last one and I'm not doing much today. So I'm inside. We had snow last night. I thought, why not join again? So here I am. Back to you.
Great. Glad you're back again. And then we have one more guest, Atul. Would you like to unmute your mic and let us know who you are and why you're here today?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I am Atul from Mumbai. Am I audible?
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
And it is midnight in Mumbai.
Oh wow.
So the posting about your club just grabbed my attention. And I have some time before I go and retire in the bed. I am member of three clubs here rather in India. One is Reliance Industries Toastmasters, then Pallava Toastmasters, and All Elite Advanced Toastmasters. I have been a Toastmaster for 19 years, and it has been a pleasant experience all throughout. Thank you. Over to you.
Great. Welcome. And I'm so glad you're here so late in the evening too as well. That's awesome. And we have our guest speaker, Rachel. Do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm based here in San Francisco, and I'm a friend of Cynthia's. And thank you so much for this invitation to be here today. And just really looking forward to hanging out and getting to know y'all.
Great. And a friend of Carrie's too. Carrie was the one that invited you. We're
Carrie
so excited.
That's right.
Love it.
Cynthia, let's not forget Boomy.
Yes. So welcome, Rachel, and we look forward to hearing from you a little later. Great. And Boomy, our lovely timer who always comes from India and helps us out. Welcome. Want to say hello?
Thank you. Hi, Toastmasters and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's midnight here, but still I'm always available if it's Leaders Worldwide. I'm currently pursuing computer science engineering from India. So I'm looking forward to this meet. Thank you, and over to you, Toastmasters Cynthia.
Great. Awesome. And did I miss anyone else, Linda?
I don't think so. That seems to be all of our guests today.
Okay, and I'm going to introduce Emmanuel, who is going to be our Toastmaster. Emmanuel Ojuwumi. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, wherever you are and whatever part of the world you are. Welcome to Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club meeting. Now, I know a lot of people know about the theme of today's meeting, but for a few of us that doesn't know about it, I'd like to tell you about the theme of the meeting. For this meeting, we'll be speaking about the Child Abuse Awareness Month. And in the course of doing this, I stumbled upon some facts from the WHO, which stated that globally, it is estimated that up to 1 billion children aged between 2 and 17 have experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence or neglect in the past 1 year. And that was dated to June 2020. This means that child abuse is a global issue that should interest every one of us in this room. And of course, we have a keynote speaker who is very vast and experienced in this subject. So roll up your sleeves and tighten your buckle for such an exciting meeting today. A typical Toastmasters meeting is divided into 3 segments: the prepared speeches, the table topics, and the evaluation segments. To bring forth the evaluation segment, I'm going to introduce to you the general evaluator. Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters and guests, with a round of applause, please help me welcome the general evaluator for today, Victor Jenkins. Over to you, Victor.
Hi. I'm looking at the agenda, and it says that I'm to be introduced now. Let's see. There must be something I'm supposed to be doing for this club. General evaluator. Okay, the general evaluator moderates the evaluation phase of the meeting. I'm going to introduce all the evaluators who evaluate the speeches. I'm going to do several reports at the end of the meeting, and then I'm going to evaluate the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was wonderful. I'm going to introduce to you another amazing personality in today's meeting, who is our timer. I'm here in Nigeria, and they say time is money. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Bumi, our timer, as she introduces her role.
Thank you, Toastmaster Emmanuel. I hope I'm audible. We kill time, we save time. We rob and get robbed of time. We lose time, and we have all the time in the world, but none of us is powerful enough to stop the march of time or slow it down. Is it something far beyond our control? In fact, no. While we cannot influence the flow of time, we still can get the most out of it. Because becoming a wise time manager sometimes is similar to mastering a sport, but results are worth the effort. As timer, I'll time the prepared speeches and the evaluations. The duration of prepared speeches is 5 to 7 minutes. I'll show green virtual card at 5 minutes, yellow virtual card at 6 minutes, and the red virtual card at 7 minutes. For the evaluation section, I'll show the green card at 2 minutes, yellow card at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and the red card at 3 minutes. Thank you, and over to you, Toastmaster Emmanuel.
Thank you so very much, Sally, for the introduction of the timer role. I will urge all speakers to please pin the timer to their screen before they start their speech, either prepared speech or table topics. Now, I would like to bring to you the English doctor, who is going to be dissecting and diagnosing our grammar usage today. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the grammarian, Sally. Sally, please take it away.
Thank you so much. And our word for the day appropriately is compassion. Sympathy or pity or concern for the suffering and the misfortune of others. To feel with deep compassion. And I'm looking forward this word to be used in somewhere in when you speak to us. And also looking out for those unusual, incomplete words like and, oh, but, and try to make them out of your lectures and be at peace for a moment and then start with your next thought. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Sally. Okay. If only those who abuse the children understand that the violence impacts their lifelong health and well-being, they probably will have acted with more compassion. I would like to introduce to you our next role player, or rather, our next star. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the master leader who will usher us into a thoughtful moment. Help me welcome Carrie.
Hello. My quote for today is, "It is easier to build strong children than it is to fix a broken man." This quote is from Frederick Douglass. As much as I would love, I'm supposed to talk about Frederick Douglass, I really want to focus on his quote because it is Child Abuse Awareness Month. And since you heard the statistics from the World Health Organization about how pernicious abuse is, I want to talk about how that abuse and those children will affect how the world works as they grow up. And if they don't heal and get the support and what they need to be able to find their own resilience and healing, they can be, in some cases, broken adults. And broken adults have they have an effect on the people around them. They can affect the lives of other people in their lives. So I would like to encourage us to, as you go through this meeting and listen to the keynote speeches, and you hear about tools to help combat and help people recover from childhood abuse, it will also serve to make this world a better place for the adults that are able to recover and contribute from the wholeness point of view. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Carrie for such an inspiring leadership moment. Thank you, Carrie. Now, this is one of the big moments we have been expecting in this meeting. I want to introduce to you our keynote speaker for today. Rachel Grant is the owner and founder of Rachel Grant Coaching, and she's a sexual abuse recovery coach. She holds a Master of Arts in Counseling Psychology. Rachel wrote a book titled Beyond Surviving, the Final Stage in Recovery from Sexual Abuse. Based on her educational training and study of neuroscience and the lessons she has learned on her own journey, Rachel has successfully used the Beyond Surviving program since 2007 to help survivors of childhood sexual abuse who are beyond sick and tired of feeling broken and unfixable to break free from the pain of abuse and finally move on with their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, for a speech or for a talk titled Building New Roadmap in the Mind in 3 Steps, please help me welcome, with a round of applause, Rachel Grant.
Thank you, everybody. Well, it's so nice to be here with you all today. Happy Monday. I really am looking forward to this time together with you all in community. And I'm just going to change my view here so I can see everybody's faces. I know you're on mute, but it's nice to just take a moment to kind of connect visually and look around and see all of you. Oh my goodness, thank you for that lovely introduction. And yes, that is me. I work as a sexual abuse recovery coach. I've been doing that work since 2007. And my intention in coming here today as we honor this month of recognition of the pandemic that is childhood sexual trauma is to offer some insight, offer some perspective, and to share my story. Today, I'm really going to start out with a bit of my journey. How did I even find myself in this role of a sexual abuse recovery coach? A title I totally made up, by the way. It didn't exist. It wasn't out there when I finished my master's in counseling psychology and was thinking about how I wanted to step into doing this work. I'll tell you a little bit about the work that we can do to build new roadmaps for the brain, for the mind. This certainly is a big piece of the puzzle when trying to address healing from trauma. So while you're listening, while you might not have the experience of sexual trauma, we all have experiences in our life that cause us to come to believe things and to develop limiting beliefs. And so you can certainly listen through that lens and try to identify what, how this applies to you in your own journey. And I'll also be sharing with you some of the ways that you can connect with me after, and we'll have a little time for Q&A. So my story really begins in Oklahoma. I'm a country girl at heart, and I was there growing up, having a great time with my family of origin, mom, dad, and my grandfather. When my grandfather came to live with my family when I was 5 years old, I was really thrilled about this. My older brother and sister were kind of much older, so they didn't pay me much attention, and my grandfather did. And he became a real close companion, someone I counted on, somebody who I enjoyed like running home from school to see. At the age of 10, my grandfather began abusing me. When this relationship shifted, when this moment of change happened, my internal world changed. My sense of self, the things that I thought, the things that I felt, the way that I looked at the world, the way that I looked at other people. Sexual trauma is an injury that causes a profound number of trauma responses. Feelings of worthlessness, fear, inability to trust, sexual dysfunction, difficulty connecting, a complete sense of system dysregulation, the injury that happens to the brain and to the nervous system that causes us to have a hard time focusing, motivating, a lack of worth that often leads us to be in unhealthy relationships or no relationships at all. And while I was in the midst of this trauma, one of the most profound experiences I had was that of pretending. We have this trauma that's sitting here and this experience that's happening to us, and we don't know how to talk about it. So I invite you for a moment to think about the experiences in your life that have caused you to pretend. Maybe it wasn't sexual trauma, but maybe it was bullying. Maybe it was racism. Maybe it was sexism, misogyny, patriarchy. Maybe there were things that you faced in your own journey where you couldn't show up exactly as you wanted to. You couldn't speak and voice your truth, but you had to hide, you had to cover up. The good news is that we have the beautiful capacity to evolve and to change and to heal. When my parents discovered what was happening, they immediately got my grandfather out of our house, which I'm very thankful for. And I always give honor and props to my parents for doing that. It was a long journey for me, though, from that moment to the point of what I now think of as beyond surviving. The journey was long in that it included lots of trauma through my teen years, further assaults, a 10-year relationship that was abusive. But in a very important moment in my life in 2006, I was going through a divorce, and I just decided it was time. Enough was enough. It was time to do something, time to face this, time to deal with this. And so I began to study. I did my master's in counseling psychology. I studied neuroscience, and I began reclaiming my life. And today, that's really what I'm up to all of the time, every day, as much as I possibly can. And the shifts have been really profound for me, being in a place where I feel confident, able to connect, even to just even come here and talk with you all. That's not something I would have ever done. That would have been way too overwhelming, way too scary. Feeling joyful, being in a healthy, loving relationship, having a really robust toolkit that helps me and supports me in living an empowered life. And I'm doing all sorts of things that I love, like hosting my upcoming Emerge Unleash Your Empowered Self retreat for women. This is a dream come true. Another one of those things when you're in the midst of trauma, you can't really dream. It's hard to pursue your goals. And so now I'm having the second annual Emerge retreat, which I hope you'll come to and learn more about if it appeals to you. Maybe we'll talk more about that in the Q&A. So let's dig in. I want to talk with you all really specifically about the neuroscience of trauma. Again, regardless of what lived experience you've had, the brain is constantly responding to the experiences that we have. One of the things that I really got curious about when I began to develop the Beyond Surviving program was, how is the brain actually affected by trauma? How do we develop these belief systems in the first place? You know, all that little monkey chatter that you have up there in your brain, is that you? Where did that come from? Why do we get in our mind, in our head, and get into these loops of negative thoughts and just get so stuck there, and it feels so real? So without getting too deep into the neuroscience, because I would love to do that, I can geek out about that all day long, okay? But I have 15 minutes. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just break it down into the baby parts. So the first thing to know about the brain is it's comprised of billions of neurons. And as we're having these experiences, these neurons begin to fire and connect with each other, and neuronal pathways are built. Now, these neuronal pathways, they hold data. And so every experience that you're having, the data sets are being formed and created. So the first time you go to the ocean, this neuronal pathway gets created from the firing of the neurons, and data like the smell of the ocean and the feel and texture of the sand and the taste of that hot dog you were eating, all of that data gets dropped into this neuronal pathway. And then years later, when you're watching a movie and there's a scene of the ocean, you're curled up on your couch with a blanket and a tea and whatever, that same neuronal pathway is lit up. The brain recognizes data points in common. So it doesn't build a new neuronal pathway. It just says, oh, this is like that. Let's just keep building this road. I like to think about the brain like that. Like neuronal pathways are all these winding and intersecting roads. And every time we access a neuronal pathway or road, we are reinforcing it. We're telling the brain, this is important information. Hold on to this data. It's useful for keeping me alive. And this neuronal pathway is also expanded. New data is dropped in. So now it's the texture of your blanket or the smell of the tea. Okay. So this is all well and good when it's the ocean. But when it's painful memories, when it's trauma, when it's abuse, and these neuronal pathways are sitting there ready to kind of fire and light up, well, we can imagine the negative impact of that. This is the trouble with trauma and abuse. My grandfather was long gone. He died shortly after the abuse ended. A lot of the experiences that I had had later, they were done. They were over. But yet I was still having this reactivity and the same kind of feelings and emotions and thoughts and reactions here in the present day because of the reactivation of these old neuronal pathways. They become deeper, they become more entrenched. And so a lot of times I felt at the mercy of these experiences. Like my brain wasn't my own. It would just, take me off. Maybe you can identify with that. Times where you felt like your brain is running, and it doesn't seem like anything you can do. But for me, that's when I decided it was time to build some exit ramps. We got to get off some of these old neuronal pathways. So one of the first things we have to do is be able to identify our limiting beliefs. So this is where a 3-step process came into play for me. It's a simple tool called What Happened? Story Alternative. I actually don't know if I have screen sharing options here. I don't. If I can get them, that would be fabulous, but it's okay if not. What you want to imagine is your first column is what happened. This is where you name and title the fact of your experience, okay? Just what it is that actually occurred. From there, the next column is your story or your interpretation. What did you come up with as far as an explanation for why that thing happened? Your third column is your feelings, choices, and behaviors. How did you react, respond as a result of that story? So for example, one day I was sitting out on the front porch with my grandfather and he abused me. And when I got away, I jumped up and I ran to my parents' room and I was crying and I was upset. And I remember thinking, why isn't anyone checking on me? Like, I'm crying. Surely they hear me. Surely that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to come and talk with me and nurture me and have some compassion for the experience that I just went through, even though they had no idea what had just happened to me. But my child's mind is going through all of that. So what happened of that experience is no one checked on me. My story, my interpretation, how I tried to explain why that was happening, things like, I have to do things on my own. I don't matter. And of course, as a result of those kinds of beliefs, my feelings, my choices, behaviors in life, I started to just believe that all the time, that I had to handle things on my own. And so I would push people away. I wouldn't let them in. A very simple way to begin retraining the brain is just to challenge those initial stories, to look for those alternative interpretations. You're not trying to find the factual truth. You're not trying to let anyone off the hook, but you are taking a moment to kind of notice, hey, is there something else that could explain why that thing happened? So for example, in my story, something else that could explain why no one checked on me, many things. They couldn't hear me. I wasn't crying as loud as I thought I was. They'd all been abducted by aliens and weren't even there. Sometimes people are surprised that you can use kind of absurd, ridiculous alternatives, but the idea is to just challenge it enough that you begin to see, hey, maybe this initial belief isn't the end all be all.
Rachel,
and with that,
you have screen sharing ability.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
yeah, awesome. So I'll put it up real quick just because sometimes it is easier to visualize it if you see it, okay? Your what happened plus your story equals your feelings, choices, and behaviors. So sometimes when I'm working with people, they'll say things like, wow, I really want to be better at, relationships. I really want to be able to connect with others. So, I'm doing all these relationship courses and I'm reading all these relationship books, but it's still not really shifting. And that's because those underlying stories and beliefs haven't shifted. The only thing in this equation that can actually be changed is the story, the interpretation. As long as that story interpretation is sitting there, it's going to keep leading to the same results. So when we change the equation, the same what happened, nothing's changed, it's still what happened. We have a new interpretation or explanation. By the way, an easy way to access that is just to ask the question, maybe this happened because, maybe they did that because again, you're not looking for the truth, you're just looking for some other options. And then that's going to lead to some new choices, feelings, and behaviors. As we do this, as we keep accessing those new choices, you can kind of think about it like you have this old bookshelf with all these old beliefs sitting there. And every time something happens, your brain just kind of goes over to the old bookshelf because the brain is kind of lazy. It actually doesn't want to do anything different if it doesn't have to. And so it grabs that old story, that old belief, that old idea, and runs with it. So we've got to build a new bookshelf. We have to start building those new neuronal pathways. And so this is just one process of many that can support you in doing this. I want to leave you, I know we're almost at our time, with a favorite quote from Dan Siegel, who's a leader in the field of neurobiology. He says, each day is literally the opportunity to create a new episode of learning in which recent experience will become integrated with the past and woven into the anticipated future. Woo! For me, that's exactly what I've seen occur in my life. I've been able to take the experiences, integrate them, weave them into the narrative of my story such that they are a part of my story, but not the story. And ultimately, that's what Beyond Surviving is all about. It really is about being able to take these experiences that we've had, make sure that we are empowered through them, and live a really empowered, reclaimed life. Thank you all for listening.
Beautiful, Rachel. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably and authentically, and letting us see a different side, a peek inside what's going on in our minds as well as yours. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, if there are any questions, comments, reflections, I'm definitely happy. They don't have to be around anything that I've shared today. If you have general questions about trauma or about healing or about me, go for it.
And you can post those in the chat and I will be facilitating. I have a question for you. You brought something up that was really interesting that I had never thought about before, that that you decided about yourself, something about after the abuse, that you had to go it alone, you were all alone, you couldn't do any, you couldn't ask for help or you wouldn't receive help, and that made you push people away from helping you. So it seems kind of counterintuitive, but it really rings true and is what I have experienced in my life and in others that have received, that have experienced abuse. So could you tell a little bit more about that, kind of why we do that? And maybe if there's a neuroscience answer as to why that is helpful to us, because our brain does what's going to be helpful. Maybe you can give us some insights into that.
Okay, so I think I hear your question as being when we develop kind of a belief system or come to understand why something has happened, then how does that translate into behavior that might seem counterintuitive or might seem counter to that? Okay, yeah, well, all right. So in this particular example, the underlying sensation and belief of I have to handle this on my own. That really builds a construct for me when I'm 10, 11 of autonomy, of isolation and disconnection. On top of that, abuse and trauma is doubling down on that because there are also other feelings like I now don't belong. I immediately felt different from my peers. Like there was a real stark contrast from like the day before when I was playing with my friends and we were just hanging out and being silly and talking about boys to the next day when all of that felt trite, unimportant. What are you all talking about? Don't you understand really bad things are happening? So it was a combination of things. I guess that's what I would add to what I've already shared is that usually it's one piece, but then it's this, and this, and it all adds up to an overwhelming feeling of I'm different, I don't belong. And therefore, in order to psychologically survive that, I have to become my own superhuman. I have to become my own savior. Because if I can't count on anybody, including my parents, though they were extremely wonderful, but my own internal belief system was that they couldn't handle it. I couldn't talk to them about it. I therefore have to bolster myself in the belief that I can handle it and I don't need them anyway. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And that's solving a large quandary for me from a long time because it seems counterintuitive and not productive. But when you look at it, it is making us safer. So I have a lot of comments. We have a lot of comments in the chat. We have from Jay Ligda, very well done and moving speech. Thanks.
Thank you.
And from an anonymous person, she asks, how long was your grandfather a predator?
So as far as we know, I was the only person that he abused. And the abuse with me went on for about a year and a half.
Before your parents discovered it.
That's right.
Right. Great. Okay. And then Linda Berteau says, thank you, Rachel. So sorry you experienced this as a child. I'm glad you were able to heal and now help to lift others up. You delivered your message so beautifully.
Thank you.
And from Deb Peretz, Rachel, that was so moving, empowering, and important. Thank you for sharing your story and your solution. You're truly a light in this world.
Thanks.
And Barbara Miriano says, thanks so much, Rachel. I too relate to all of your speech, plus reclaiming my life at 81 years
Barbara,
old.
come on. Do it. Yes, never too late. Never too late. Yeah.
And Lynn Fraley says, wonderful speech. You clearly help so many people now, I'm sure. Sorry you had to have that experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. So are there any last words that you want to leave us with?
I'm just putting the quote. I think I saw somebody there asking for that, but there's the quote that I shared at the end. Well, as far as final words, thank you for holding space. You know, I think the more that we create safe spaces where we can talk about the experiences that we have, cut out the pretending, right? We all have stuff. We all have stuff that we're dealing with, that we're working with, regardless of origin. And so I appreciate that, and for you all being here and holding space for me in that way. Certainly, if this is your experience and there's anything that you would like to follow up with me on, please do. I'll put my email here in the chat. You can certainly email me. I'll put my website as well. And the Emerge Retreat that I mentioned earlier, this is open to all women, regardless of whether you identify as having trauma or not. So that's coming up in May. And that's going to be just a really beautiful space in partnership with my dear, dear friend, Ashley Easter, who does amazing work around intuition. We're going to be doing such great work around embodiment and voice and confidence and these sorts of things. So if you or any of your ladies or anyone who identifies as female is down for that, please check it out. Most importantly, trauma is not a life sentence. Trauma is not a life sentence. We have the absolute full capacity to heal, to reclaim our lives, and it's never too late to have a great childhood. Thank you all again for having me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And back to you, Toastmaster Emmanuel.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, Cynthia. And thank you very much, Rachel, for that amazing and wonderful presentation. I can say that we learned quite a whole lot from the entire talk. Now, this is the time we go on a quick break, and we're going to go on a 5-minute break. You can stretch your leg, just grab a cup of coffee, or you can do anything, just stretch, and let's have a 5-minute break, and we'll convene in 5 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. So the break starts now.
Enjoy. Awesome. And there were a few more messages I want to read out. Lynn Fraley said, wonderful speech. You clearly helped so many people now, I'm sure. Oh, we already read that.
Break, rounding up. So everyone should please come back and put on their video.
Do we have everybody going to the breakout rooms, Linda?
As far as I can tell, yes. Everyone seems to be assigned appropriately.
Okay.
Okay,
Have a
so
good
I'm-
breakout room.
Bye.
Bye. Back to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Linda. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the first part of the Toastmasters meeting, which is the prepared speeches. If you are a guest and you are new to how Toastmasters work, the prepared speeches is where people who have joined Toastmasters come to give speeches according to the guidelines of a path, which is called, in the Toastmasters education program, called the Pathways. Our first speaker today will be talking about kite surfing. But before I unveil the speaker, I would like to bring forward the evaluator. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Salha bin Hamid as he introduces the speech objectives of the first speaker. Over to you, Taha.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day. First of all, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So today, the speaker that we have will be doing her level 3 project from level 3 of the pathway engaging humor. The project's name is Connect with Storytelling. The purpose of this project is for the member to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. The member completing this project is focusing on using stories in a speech or creating a speech that is a story. And they may use any type of story, personal, well-known fiction, or one of their own creation. The story should be well organized and it should include a story. So yeah, kind of repetitive, but I'm just reading off the evaluation sheet. So with that, I hand over the charge now to the Toastmaster of the day who will introduce the speaker.
From the engaging humor path, thank you, Taha. From the engaging humor path, level 3, I'd like to bring to you someone who, for over 40 years, have had 5 strong phobias, which included public speaking and visibility. Now, she has only one more fear to conquer, and that is kite surfing. This is a second time telling the story at Leaders Worldwide. This time, she'll try to make the lesson at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Cynthia Stotts for a speech titled Kite Surfing. Kite Surfing, Cynthia Stotts.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Yes, this is my second time giving this speech. Oh my gosh. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. What am I doing? Why did I do this? Why did I sign up for kite surfing lessons? I have to sign in 5 places that my family won't sue if I get killed. What am I doing? I got to call my friends. Bring, bring. Mary doesn't answer. Bring, bring. Rachel doesn't answer. Bring, bring. Jessica doesn't answer. Oh, no one is available. I'm so terrified. Somebody has to talk me off the ledge. I pull out of my driveway. I walk out of my car and I go to reach for my garage door to pull it down. And I hear this voice, the voice of God. Cynthia, you have called everyone but me. Why didn't you call me? 'Cause you're God? I didn't think you could relate. I'm afraid. I'm a scaredy cat. Can you help me? Well, what are you afraid of? Well, it's kite surfing. I could die, or worse yet, I could be injured for the rest of my life. I'm terrified. Are you afraid of looking bad? That is the furthest thing from my mind. I am not worried about looking bad. Good, because that could get you killed. Wow, that could get me killed. I'm driving down to my kite surfing lesson, and I'm thinking, am I afraid of looking bad? I don't think I'm that vain. And that is the furthest thing from my mind. But if God asks me, I think I must be. So I resolved in that moment that whenever I was afraid of looking bad, whenever I was afraid that I would be embarrassed, I would move toward that thing to keep myself safe, to keep myself from dying. So I got on the jet ski with my instructor and we headed out to the center of the bay. I got onto my board. I don't know if you have ever been kite surfing or seen kite surfers, but you are on like a surfing board that's a little smaller. It's called a wakeboard. And you hold on to a bar, and that bar has a rope that's tied to the end of a kite that's 16 feet in wingspan. That's nearly 3 times the height of a tall man. It's huge. And that kite captures a lot of wind and has a lot of power. And so I was holding on to my wakeboard. I couldn't stand up yet. That's more advanced lesson. And I was holding on to my wakeboard and holding on to my kite. And we were sailing through the bay. And the wind was in my hair. And it was exciting. And it was fun. And it was almost like a roller coaster, but there's nobody driving but me. And then I heard my instructor say, it's time to put your kite away. I said, okay, so how hard could that be to put the kite away? So I get back towards the boat and I hear him say, wah, 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 wah. Like the teachers in Peanuts. I had no idea what he said, but I knew it was important. And I was embarrassed because I didn't hear it. And I asked him to repeat it again. I said, I know I should have heard you, but I didn't. And I really want to know what you said, because I know what you said was really important, and I'm going to do my best to listen carefully. So he said, when you're putting away your kite, you're pulling the string through the bar, and don't move your feet, because if you move your feet, you'll get tangled up in the rope. And whatever you do, don't let go of the rope and let it go back through the bar, because your kite could power up and that would be very dangerous. Got it. Okay. So what's the first thing I do? I move my legs. I get tangled up. In fact, they're tangled all the way down to my ankles, and my ankles are cinched together, and I was hogtied like a cow. Oh, so I call over to him because he's about 50 feet away. And I say, I'm in a mistake. I moved and my legs are all tangled up. And he comes over, and I'm untangling the rope, and I can't get it loose from my ankles. So when he finally gets there, I flip up in the air, put my feet up in the air, and he untangles my ankles. What a terrible position to be in. And I held onto that kite as with all my might. I got back safe. I got back to land, and I was starving. But I looked a mess. My hair was in blonde dreadlocks, and I looked like something the cat dragged in. And my favorite sushi restaurant was only a few miles away, and I wanted to go desperately. So I said, lean into it, Cynthia. And I went to my sushi restaurant, walked in, quite a sight. Thankfully, there was only one table with a bunch of guys at it, and my sushi chef was at the counter. And I've known him for 5 years and his uncle for 30 years. And I told him the story, the harrowing story. And I looked over at the guys that were sitting at the table. And based upon the googly eyes that they were looking at me with, I must have never been looked more beautiful in my life. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for that amazing story told in a speech by Cynthia Stott. Now we observe 1 minute of silence. Kindly leave your feedback in the chat box directly to Cynthia using the Toastmasters evaluation method of CRC, comment, recommend, and commend, which means you will say something nice about what she has done and areas where she wants her to improve on, recommend, and of course, praise her so that she can come back again and do something more spectacular. So privately, select Cynthia in the chat box and give a feedback. We move on to the next speaker, who is going to be talking about options. But hold on, I'm going to introduce to you the speech evaluator. Please help me welcome Jay.
Thank you, Emmanuel, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and Lynn. Lynn will be doing the persuasive speaking speech, which is an elective on level 3. She's working on the presentation mastery path. The purpose of this project is for the member to understand the types of persuasive speeches and deliver a persuasive speech at a club meeting, which is going to happen right now. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jay. Our next speaker will be speaking on a speech titled, Consider Your Options. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a welcome to the virtual lectern, Lynn Fraley.
Got to be a nurse. And I went to work. Couldn't have been more excited about helping people in my life. And I start working and I notice how limited the options are that these people are accessing. And I'm noticing a lot of strange things that just don't feel like health and wellness and vitality, but a certain kind of limited thinking. And I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with this picture? It's not what I thought it was going to be. Moving forward, I was invited to give a presentation at a Cancer Control Society conference on nutrition. And I thought, hey, I know a lot about nutrition and I don't know much about cancer, but I can help. I get to the conference, totally blown away about options for care, all different kinds of care, chronic illness, cancer, different kinds of pathologies. Now, at this point, I'm a nurse. I have a doctoral degree in public health, and I know a lot about health, except that I didn't know that there were so many options. And I'm thinking to myself, if I don't know that there are so many options for health and wellness, what about my friends? What about my family? What about people who are in this system saluting, thinking they're doing the right thing because they're complying like good patients? In fact, there's a whole field called compliance in healthcare. How do we get people to comply? So that was quite an awakening for me. Moving forward, I've done presentations on health and wellness and communication, but something kept nagging at me. And that was the extent to which women, I'll say it, are bullied into a certain kind of healthcare for their breast health. Now, I don't mean to be mean about any well-meaning doctors or any healthcare professionals who are doing their very best, but they have a sense of limited options from my perspective. So I wrote my book, Cherish the Girls, a well-rounded approach to breast health and wellness. But health is wealth, we know. The book is being laid out. I'm still doing my research. And then I find something else that is transformational in terms of how breast health can be managed. It's been around for a while, not well known, not a lot of money in it. Hey, you know what? Not a lot of money in it. You're not going to hear about it very much. So I contacted the people involved with it. Stop the press, stop laying out the book. I have to go back and do some more rewriting. And if I'm here and I'm so knowledgeable and I'm figuring this out, what about my friends? What about my family? What about women who are complying with the best health care they have been served up? Yet it's limited in options. So how do we find out about options? Well, first of all, it depends on our belief system. We all trust our providers, and we all should. Never go to a provider you don't trust and believe in. But the expression trust and verify. The second point has to do with the messaging we get. There's a concept called illusory truth. Now, I have compassion. I have deep compassion for people who believe what they are told and they follow the rule. But the illusory truth refers to the concept that something repeated again and again and again and again and again becomes a truth, even if it's not. So we have mammogram save lives. Yeah, wow. That's, again, if a woman hasn't heard that 1,000 times, she is not paying attention. And men have heard it less often, but they don't have to pay attention like women are told to pay attention. And you know what? The truth is, not so true, because there's a lot of flies in the ointment here as we go along. So back to doing your research, doing your homework, trusting in yourself. In fact, I'm Rachel talked about neural pathways. We believe something and we believe it and we just go down for the fight for it. And I think that was true when I got confronted about cancer at this conference. I thought I knew something. I thought I knew a lot more than I did. But the way that the messages come in through all forms of media. Now, first of all, Big Pharma got very active about 100 years ago. So if you wonder why some things haven't come to light, we don't know about these things. Well, 100 years ago, they were kind of filtered out. So it's a very long game in terms of how our economy runs with the help and dependence of different economic models here. So even though it may be uncomfortable to explore some options, and you don't have to refute anything, it's just being a little bit more creative as you explore things. It really comes down to trusting yourself. The bottom line is you hear information. We've all been educated. We have trusted providers. The bottom line comes down to what feels right for me. I would never make any judgment about what anyone should do. In my book, I make no judgment. I invite early readers here to explore some of this with me, to give me feedback. I can't judge for someone else. And I know that providers do their very best to offer the best care that they can, but the bottom line is they cannot really know what is in your heart and what you feel is the truth for you. So in terms of considering your options, I want to leave you with one important, powerful message. And that is, besides trusting yourself, consider your options in all forms of care, health, wellness, relationships. Just know that you have powerful options that are individual to you, that serve you, and may even be part of your mission in life to discover what they are. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so very much for that deeply inspiring and heart-opening speech. Please give your feedback to Lynn's speech using the Toastmasters feedback method of CRC, comment, recommend, and comment. You can do this privately by selecting Lynn in the chat box and saying something you like about her speech, offer a piece of recommendation, and of course, praise her such that she can come back at the next meeting and blow our minds. 1 minute starts now. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, if you are not familiar with Toastmasters, this is particularly one area you'll be excited about. We are moving to the next segment of the Toastmasters meeting, which is the table topics. If you have never spoken, this is your big chance to champion these amazing segments. Please help me welcome an amazing personality, Linda, as she takes it away.
Yay, Emmanuel, thank you so much. You are such a great Toastmaster and leader of this meeting today. I really appreciate you. So today I have 2 questions, and these came from Carrie Kelly, who is becoming a dear friend and someone who is very well versed in this particular area of childhood abuse And so I want to find people who are ready to answer the questions. May I get a member first who would like to answer a question for the table topic? Now, do I say the question first, or do I get somebody that's going to answer the question?
Let's get all our volunteers at one time.
Okay,
Make
good.
sure to get a guest, at least one guest.
At least
and
one
then-
guest.
Mhm.
And then we want to have a member or two. So please let me know who this is. And are they going to raise their hand? How am I going to know?
Yes. Raise your hand if you'd like to speak. And let's see. Do we have, uh-oh. Oh, we do have a guest. We have Eva. Eva, would you like to be a table topics speaker?
All right, thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, Eva, great.
Now you've got one volunteer. Now
Yay.
2 more.
Two more. Can I have 2 more, please?
A member or a guest.
Come on, come on. This is a great opportunity.
Let's see. We have Victor. We have Sally. Victor or Sally. Do you want to speak? Or Kadisha? I don't know if she's available.
Carrie's
to
in
speak.
here. Well, Carrie's in here too.
Hey, that would be good. Carrie, do you want to be a table topic speaker?
I would love for you to be that, Carrie.
Okay, but is it fair because I know what the questions are?
It's
Yes.
totally fair. Because
Absolutely.
you also
Okay.
know the answers.
Right, okay. Okay,
Right?
all right, yes.
And
So,
one more person. How about Sally? Do you want to be a table topic speaker, Sally?
come on, Sally.
You're on mute.
You can unmute yourself, Sally. Ask to unmute. Here we go.
All right, thank you.
Do you want to be a table topics speaker?
Yes, I would. I don't think you can see me. Something's gone wrong, but you can hear
We
me.
can see you.
I can see
We
you.
see
I can certainly see you. Okay. Okay, well then I'm going to ask Sally, will you be the first one? And then we'll do Eva and then Carrie. How's that?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so Sally, the question is, what would you do if you saw a child being mistreated in a public place?
Well, my compassion would take a hold of me and I would have to respond as quickly as possible. Well, when I saw that happening in Kaiser, I was very afraid not to find anyone who would understand what I saw. So I waited till I got home and I called in to the police and the security. Unfortunately, they didn't respond very well. So that's the first time and the last time it's ever going to happen that way. I would go directly to the mother. But I was a little self-conscious about bringing attention to 2 kids who were acting up by exposing themselves to me.
Wow.
And I was shocked, but I couldn't prove anything. But I told them to Kaiser and I said, you look up on the movie, there's a filming of every hour of every day. Find it. I told them the time. I didn't know their name. I went to the police and I went to Kaiser.
Wow. Well, thank you for doing that. So, I mean, you know, you took action and sometimes that doesn't always come to fruition the way you want it to, but we do have some resources.
It was a good lesson to say, again, I'll never let that happen. It's too painful walking around knowing that I didn't reach anyone.
Right. And I thank you for your compassion and your sense of responsibility to do something. Appreciate that. Okay, Eva.
Yes.
Your question is, what would you do if a child confided in you about abuse?
Wow. Wow. Have to handle this question and problem with deep compassion. When a child confess to me, either he or she has been abused, pay attention to that. He or she is asking for help. Usually the fear would interrupt, the fear would keep them silent or self-conscious, a kind of a deep self valueless, worthless, that will prohibit them from speaking up. When they find a chance to speak, that means it seems like they're catching a straw in the ocean, that you are their hope. So as a human being, as a decent human beings responsible to fulfill that responsibility, we are their savior because they entrust us. We have to handle this with a deep compassion. They have been abused. We have to report to the official, to whatever organization, child support or the child abuse agency. Just do whatever you can. Get as much information from the child about the detail, about who the address, their phone number, what school do they go to, their house address, who does he or she live with, the parents or grandparents or whatever. You have to get as much information as possible and report to the official, because in these days, so many crazy people running around, and the value is totally different. I wouldn't want to, and I dare not to confront or present myself to the family, expose myself to the people who abuse this child, because I never know what I'm going to run into myself. So present, gather information, report to the official.
Great.
Because we are their savior at that moment.
Thank you so much. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And I also have a link that I put in the chat box. It's for the childwelfare.gov website, and Carrie gave me the exact link to go to find out what to do about child abuse. So we can all definitely be participants in helping a child to save them from really, really bad circumstances. And I would think it's also about being observant and seeing what's happening, reporting, and then helping. Good. So Carrie, which question would you like to answer, or would you like to talk about why don't you tell us what are the resources that we have to help a child to either stop being abused, to report? What can we do to help
Okay.
somebody if we find out, or if we suspect, maybe we suspect and we don't know, what can we do?
Oh man, see, I was all ready to answer each one of those questions, and now you're flipping the script on me. So what I will say is that two things. One, you need to be what's the word I'm looking for? Self-aware about what you are willing and able to do. Because like right now I'm sitting in my house, I'm all safe and sound, and if I go out in public and I see somebody abusing a child, right now sitting in my house, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be this big bad superwoman. I'm going up to that parent. I'm going to tell them right off, and I'm going to have 911 on my speakerphone, on my dial, and I'm going to call and report them right now, right this minute. But then when you actually get into the situation, just like our guest Eva said, you might start having second thoughts about, if this person is bold enough to do this out in public, they might be a little crazy, and they, you never know what you're walking up on. So there is a lot of resources out there. If you have, I gave you the one, the childwelfare.gov, because that one has most of them for the US. The World Health Organization has the child abuse prevention information on their website. That's good for international. And then there's those trusted reporters in our lives that we know, teachers, people that have things to do with children, daycare center operators, teachers, principal, any school official is a mandated reporter. They have to report stuff. And when all else fails, call 911. And then like also deal with your own self-care, because there's always there's always going to be this piece of you that, oh, did I do enough? No matter how much you go above and beyond, there's always a little nagging voice in the back of your head. Did I do enough? Did I do enough? Did I do enough?
Right.
So, self-care and figure out how to get support around your own needs if you have to report or deal with things like that.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was great. I mean, each of you gave some great insights, and I'm just glad that we now have some resources we can use, and to stay observant and to take action. Don't just think it's not your business. Do something. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And
Am I
now
supposed to say back to you, Toastmaster?
Yes.
Okay, back to you, Toastmaster Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. I was expecting that. I thought done. I was expecting the call back. Okay, thank you very much for that amazing and interesting and engaging table topic session. Please, can we give a round of applause to everyone that participated in the table topics? You are excellent. You are amazing. Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the ship is about to sail to the coast. But before then, there's one last thing we have to do. Get feedback for such an amazing performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome once again to the virtual lectern, the GE for today's meeting. The GE means the General Evaluator. Victor, are you around? Kindly unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Well, loud and clear. Okay, so Victor, please take it away.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the General Evaluator, and the General Evaluator actually is the whole reason that people come to Toastmasters, because people want to know how they're doing and they want to be better at what they're doing. And it's the General Evaluator's job to help you learn how well you're doing or not doing, as it were. As a General Evaluator, I'm going to do a couple of things. More than a couple of things. I'm going to start off by introducing the evaluators. And after I introduce the evaluators, then I'm going to take a couple of reports. And after the couple of reports, then I'll give you my assessment of what I thought the meeting was or wasn't. However, evaluations are speeches just like everything else in Toastmasters. And because they're speeches, they have timing constraints. Because without timing constraints, we all know some people would never, ever close their pie hole, right? And we can't have people running off at the mouth in any section of a Toastmasters meeting. So, with a timer, please take about a few seconds and tell us what the timing constraints actually are for an evaluation. 1, 2 minutes, the colors, all that. Can you do that for us, please?
Thank you, General Evaluator Toastmaster Victor. The evaluation section, the duration of evaluation section is 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I'll show the green card. At 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll show the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I'll show the red card. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And after that red card, you got 30 seconds to finish your evaluations. I want to caution everyone, or at least the 2 evaluators, please pin the timer so you'll see the red cards when they come up, so you'll see the color change, because as you're giving your evaluations, you're probably going to be looking at the camera like I'm looking at the camera now. And now to evaluate our first speaker, we are going to have Talha Ben Hamid. So Talha Ben Hamid, evaluation for speech number 1. Evaluation for speech number 1, Talha Ben Hamid. Take it away, Talha.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator. Wow, kite surfing. Looking at DPM Cynthia's talk and listening to her storytelling skills, I thought I was witnessing an iteration of Meryl Streep. But the story proves to all of us that, in fact, there was a Tom Cruise hiding inside the Meryl Streep. You had an amazing, engaging start. Your expressions are second to none, I must say. You have formidable acting skills, and that is a cornerstone of storytelling. We could all learn so much from you. You had beautiful bits of humor, natural humor that were beaded beautifully throughout your story. For example, your dialogue with God. You called everyone but me. Why didn't you call me? Because you're God. So yeah, that was amazing, and that is actually something I love because there's a lesson there that God is right here. In case you believe in God, God is always available to you, and He is your friend. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful inspiration there. Uh, you had super focus on camera and eye contact. Again, I don't know what sorcery it is, but you seem to be looking right into our eyes rather than into a camera. Have to once again take notes from you. Uh, you had some stunning imagery around your story. We could see everything happening right before our eyes, even when we looked at you. And what I love the most about your story was its ending. It's a story within the story. You related the story. You added another layer to the story. And it was such a poetic, intriguing, enigmatic ending. Thank you for not preaching a lesson at the end, because so many storytellers and Toastmasters feel compelled to tack on a sermon at the end. You know, follow your dreams and don't be afraid, etc., etc. But you did not do that. Instead, you ended on something very poetic. So congratulations on that. Just a few improvement areas. First of all, again, very narrow angle. The story was a widescreen cinematic presentation, and you presented it through a very narrow lens. You could have made some expansive gestures. The pacing at the start, especially your dialogue with the instructor and everything, I believe personally that dragged on for a little bit, could have been reduced a little bit. Uh, and perhaps, again, this is just a suggestion. It is not an improvement area. It's just a suggestion to do something differently. You could have started with you attached to the kite, started dramatically, and painted the scenery around you, and then moved on to the story, that how you got here. That would have been a different kind of start, like non-chronological, Christopher Nolan-like kind of thing. And you missed a few punchline, one punchline. You could have said, how hard could it be? So you said it very plainly. But other than that, superb achievement of project objectives. Congratulations. We were thoroughly entertained and thrilled. Over to you, General Weber.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Give you a round of applause. And now our second evaluator will be evaluating speech number 2. That's Jay Ligda. Evaluate speech number 2. Evaluate speech number 2. Jay Ligda. Take it away, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And that's not a coincidence that the second evaluator evaluates the second speech. It's very well thought out that way. Lynn, that was a great speech, great delivery. I kept thinking during your speech that this is a perfect example of how to deliver a great Toastmaster speech. So thanks for getting me to think that. It must have been a great delivery. Here are things that you did well. You had good eye contact. For the most part, you are looking directly at us, with a few exceptions that I'll mention in a second, or more than a second. Very good gesturing. They were all very natural, and they complemented what you were talking about. And you also made use of the camera screen that you have here. You were gesturing within the screen rather than down here where you can't see what you're doing, which is natural, more natural in doing an in-person speech. You made great use of vocal variety. It was enough to keep the speech interesting, but not too much that it seemed unnatural or distracting, which can happen with vocal variety quite often. Very well done. You sounded natural and confident. You were also dressed very nicely for a presentation. It looked like you were intentionally working on your look for the presentation. A few things to improve. I mentioned the eye contact. For the most part, it was great. You were looking right at us. You were above your camera, probably a laptop on your desk, which gave you a position of looking down on us, which isn't bad. It's something that we can play with in doing our speeches, the camera angle. And actually, if you are above, it can actually look like you're doing a presentation in front of a bunch of people, or you can do down and looking up at them. It's another tool we have in this format. And also, at times you were looking off to your left. So I don't know what was there that was interesting to you, but it must have been helping you out quite a bit, because you would often look over to your left for help in that direction. And you also look down at your notes quite a bit. So my suggestion is to put your notes up by your camera if they're in a digital format, so that when you look at your notes, you're looking directly at the camera, which is what I'm doing right now. And also, this is not for you because you don't have glasses, but for everybody else, a tip is that if you make your note window black, it doesn't reflect in your glasses. So you can see right now I have a white window. You can kind of see it in my glasses, but if I switch it, it changes in my glasses. I also wanted to see a little more light on the right side of your face. I don't know if I'm doing that right. It was interesting. The contrast did help with your overall look, but I think a little more light would have been nicer. There was also a little noise coming over your line. I looked and everybody else was muted. So unless if somebody muted real quick, it was probably coming from you. I noticed it when you look down at your notes. So maybe you were moving your notes across the microphone or something. So having a boom mic like this it's very helpful. I also want to compliment you on your tongue twisters. There are a few tongue twisters that you had that kind of tripped you up a little bit, and you handled those very well, laughed at them, and that was very humorous. I think that was added to your speech. Very good delivery, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you ever so much. Moving right on according to our agenda, the next thing we're going to have is, will the timer please tell us, number one, did those evaluators qualify time-wise? And what about everybody else? What were their timing numbers like? Timer.
Thank you, General Evaluator Toastmaster Victor. Starting with the prepared speech section, the master leader, Toastmaster Carey, took 2 minutes and 9 seconds. The keynote speaker, Toastmaster Rachel, took 15 minutes and 47 seconds. And for Q&A, she took 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Then the speaker number 1, Toastmaster Cynthia, took 7 minutes and 2 seconds. Speaker number 2, Toastmaster Lynn, took 6 minutes and 29 seconds. Next comes the evaluation section. The evaluator number 1, Toastmaster Tahala, took 3 minutes and 26 seconds. The evaluator number 2, Toastmaster Jay, took 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Next comes the table topic section. The table topic speaker number 1, Toastmaster Sally, took 1 minute and 40 seconds. The table topic speaker number 2, Toastmaster Eva, took 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And table topic speaker number 3, Toastmaster Carey, took 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you, and over to you, Toastmaster Victor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Timer. Will the grammarian, the person who's in charge of the word of the day and going to tell us about the use of the word of the day and the filler words, please, Sally Elizabeth Reyes, take it away.
Thank you so much. I have listed Rachel, Cynthia, Lynn, Eva, and myself use the word of the day. Rachel used some so's, Cynthia so's, and Lynn. So was the word of the day. Thank you. Oh, I did have a remark. I thought that pernicious was a wonderful use of a word by Kelly, and looked like the cat dragged in was a great visual expression of Cynthia's, and decompression was a unique reversal of our word. Compassion, decompassion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now to move on to the evaluation of the meetings proceeding. Let's talk a little bit about the meetings. Toastmaster meetings are a lure, in my opinion. Toastmaster meetings, sometimes the first experience someone has with Toastmaster is by attending a Toastmaster meeting. So the Toastmaster meeting needs to be sharp, needs to be crisp, and it needs to be so engaging that the person can't wait to get back the next time. Let's talk about this meeting in particular. This meeting began a little bit late, and the reason the meeting began a little bit late is understandable. However, in future, we need to work very hard on making sure the meeting starts dead at 11 o'clock. One way to do that may be that we know beforehand which roles are done and which roles are not. Who's going to show up, who's not going to show up, rather than having to look for people to assume the roles during the beginning of the meeting. We'll already have that taken care of. In my view, we could have that taken care of a week before the meeting if we want to. And there are technologies and ways that we can make that happen. And as we go on, perhaps we'll get better at doing that. Number two, I want to give kudos to the Toastmaster, because the Toastmaster is very lively, very ebullient. And as far as I'm concerned, the meeting belongs to the Toastmaster. Years from now, when we think about this meeting, when you think about this meeting, you're going to remember who the Toastmaster was, because the Toastmaster was so phenomenal. The meeting has the Toastmaster's footprint under ordinary circumstances. And in that vein, the question and answer from the keynote speaker, I would have preferred that the Toastmaster ask those questions and answers. The president has a whole lot of different things to do in the Leaders Worldwide meeting. And my goodness, if the president wasn't here, I think the meeting would fall apart. And well, we're leaders, so we don't want it to be like that. So in terms of the meeting, I think it was an adequate meeting, and the meeting will continually get better and better and better. Oh, and the table topics. I could have volunteered for table topics, and as you probably can figure out, I have to take pills to stop talking, because I can talk all day long. However, in table topics, it is also my belief, table topics is for impromptu speaking. And if I volunteer, that means I'm ready to speak, and it's not impromptu. I think it's more efficient training to call people who don't have roles in table topics. You may adopt that as your style, you may not, but that is my style. I appreciate being a general evaluator of this meeting. I appreciate being a member of this club, and I will continue to be a member of this club and continue sharpening up our tools and making us where people come to our meeting and they go, whoa, I can't wait to get back to Leaders Worldwide. And I'm coming up on my 3 minutes now, so I guess I'm going to have to stop talking. As traumatic as that is, as troublesome as that is, I'm going to have to stop talking. And giving the lectern to the next person on the agenda, and according to the agenda, the Vice President of Education needs to be introduced right now. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you, without further ado, one of my favorite Vice President of Education in all of Toastmasters, with the name, y'all know her as whatever y'all know her as. I know her as Mrs. Peel. Step right up, Mrs. Peel.
Oh.
Hi, guys. Few little technical glitches. So I'm going to hand it to our president to check her text.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, good.
Okay, we're gonna have our favorite chocolates, takeaways and chocolates in just a minute. But first, we want to let you know that there's a few roles to be filled, and this is for what date, Kathleen? This is for the next afternoon session or evening session. What's the date?
Okay, so that is on, let me see here. It is the next afternoon session, and that is, I believe it was the 4/26.
The 26th, yes, at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And
Right.
we are looking for a Toastmaster, lots of stardom in that role, and a general evaluator, and grammarian, timer. We'll try to see if Boomy's available for that one too. We also need 2 evaluators, a table topics, and greeters and co-hosts. We have everything but the speaking roles open. So would anyone like to be the Toastmaster or the general evaluator?
I could be the journal evaluator.
Who is this speaking?
This is me, Talha.
I can't hear you. Who is this?
Sorry.
Tala.
Sorry.
Tala.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Tala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tala. I can't see everyone at once. I don't have a gallery view. You can be the what? Toastmaster?
Journal evaluator.
General evaluator. Okay, you got that, Kathleen? And
Yeah.
who would like to be the Toastmaster? How about you, Victor?
Sure, I'm the Toastmaster. Do I
Awesome.
get to pick the theme, or does someone else pick the theme?
No, we'll pick the theme. We'll talk to you about that later. Yeah, we picked the theme, and it's the same theme as today. We carry it throughout the month because we're celebrating Child Abuse Prevention Month. Bless you. Please mute when you sneeze. Thank you. And do we have someone that can do table topics? Lynn Fraley, how about table topics for you? Or Emmanuel?
I'll take it.
You'll take it, Emmanuel. Great.
You
Thank
didn't raise my hand.
What?
You didn't see me raise my hand, but Emmanuel can have it. Cool, no problem.
Will you be an evaluator for us?
If you'd like, sure.
Speech
Thank you.
evaluator? Great. Great. Okay. Now, takeaways and chocolates. What did you take away from today? We'd like to talk to with our guests first. Eva, like to hear about your experience and what you're taking away with you today. Or Eileen. I guess Eva's not here. Eileen, I know you missed some of the meeting because
I
you
did.
had some technical difficulties.
I did. We actually were a internet provider, and my husband was doing some upgrading at the tower. So I phoned him. I says, "Is it my end or your end?" He said, "It's our end." But I'm back. I did listen to the keynote, and I didn't catch much. I wish I would have, but I enjoy seeing all the faces, and I wish I could have stayed on longer, but here I am. So great meeting, and I may be back. It just depends on the timing. So.
Great, great. Would you like to take away a chocolate with you? A virtual
Sure, I love
chocolate? Here you go.
Cynthia, I'm here. This is
Oh,
Eva.
hi,
I'm here.
Eva.
Yeah, I would like to say that the takeaway is the keynote speaker that really laid the footprint throughout the whole meeting. I have a very limited exposure on the child abuse before. I never heard such a person with a noble mission and a decent soul would open up herself, expose her wound to share with the Toastmaster Club and to see the prosperity and the bright heading up to the brighter future. I really respect the keynote speaker. I've never seen such a person open up her wound and share and educate with the rest of the world. So with this deep compassion, I have a highly respect on the keynote speaker. That's my takeaway.
Yes, she was amazing. Rachel she walks her walk and talks her talk. I've known her for about 4 years now, and she's, quite amazing. Yeah. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I want to offer a takeaway. I'm just so impressed at how well everyone works together here. And the fact that there were so many people who just didn't show. And I thought the leadership did a really terrific job filling in the slots. And then with the technology breakdown that happens, and everyone did it with such grace and ease. And I also need to apologize. I'm not going to be here in 2 weeks. So the opportunity for someone to be an evaluator is now back on the table.
Okay, awesome. Would you like a chocolate?
Sure, yay.
Woohoo! Okay, thank you. And anyone else? And Linda, if you can see raised hands, I can't see them.
Barbara needs to unmute.
Barbara?
Hi, everyone. I really enjoyed Rachel's speech. And it was wonderful because I had the same topic. It's funny how people give you the courage to step up and say what you need to say. I was very impressed with her.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed our group, and the speeches that were given were wonderful. So thank you.
Great, great. And would you like a virtual chocolate?
I'd like a real one.
I've
But I'll
got one
take
here,
it.
but it's hard to send it through the airwaves.
Okay, I'll take it.
Mail it.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else like to share a takeaway? Somebody that spoke in the speechcraft room? Do we have any
I'll
raised?
say
Oh,
something.
Deb? Yes.
I just wanted to repeat what Barbara said. The speeches today were just really wonderful, starting with that amazing keynote speak, but also in our small group, it was great. So I just wanted to say kudos, everyone.
Awesome job. Yeah, I love those breakout rooms because it's very intimate and unifying. It seems like you become best friends. Great. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
No, I'm on a diet. Thanks. I can't even
On
afford
a
virtual
diet.
calories.
No calories in virtual chocolate.
Yeah, Zoom has been adding a lot of virtual weight.
That's true. It's secretary spread from sitting too long. Anyone else want to share? Cassandra, would you like to share?
Yes, I would. I would just like to say I really enjoyed her speech. It was inspiring, empowering, just everything. She was awesome. And I just really appreciate her tenacity just to stand up and be authentic and say, this is what happened. And this is how I overcame everything. And here I am. And for all to see. So kudos to Rachel.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love that she's able to share it publicly. And that's what I want leaders worldwide, that we can share these taboo subjects, hard to deal with subjects, and speak them out.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's helped so many.
Yeah.
She'll never realize how many people she has helped.
Yeah.
To
And
stand
thank
up.
you for being here, Cassandra. It's good to see you.
Yay!
Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Please.
Okay. Let me toss
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have Linda? Or else we'll just move on to our announcements. Anyone else raising their hand? No one there.
Gina would like to virtual
Yes,
talk.
please.
And she's muted. Gina, unmute, please.
Gina.
There we go.
Okay. I'd just like to add to what everybody said about the keynote of Rachel. I think what I thought was super. Sometimes when I hear people that speak about trauma, it can be all trauma, but what I think she did very well was she included us and she gave us some solutions and gave us that framework that I guess that we could use, the 1, 2, 3 steps that she uses to get people to change their thinking, change their story, that changes their behavior. I think that was a very, very important part. So I thought that was really good. And it's made me look at trauma and child abuse very differently because I've not experienced that either.
Great.
And also I'd like to say that tonight I got to know a little bit more about Linda and who was the other girl that we were in with, Linda?
Hedda.
Hedda, yeah.
Hedda. Yeah, we were able to have just a very short conversation, but an influential conversation that I think is quite important. And we smiled about it, and it was nice. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I love the breakout rooms. It's very intimate. Well, thank you very much. You want your virtual chocolates?
I'd like a real one, please. I'll have to come to Los Angeles.
But I can't get them through the airwaves. Here you go.
Only one?
Oh, here you go. Another one and another one. No calories. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you next week. It's the evening time. In 2 weeks, it's the afternoon again. And we also have our district conference on May 1st. So don't miss it. You can sign up for that. Okay.
And Cynthia, don't forget we have virtual or district contests as well.
Oh, that's right. What's starting on the 16th?
Yes.
Is Friday night is the evaluation contest, and is it the 23rd? That's
yes.
the international speech contest. So the winners will just be announced at the conference, but if you want to see them up close and personal, join us on Friday night, the 16th and 23rd for those contests. It's going to be really an exciting contest. Okay. Anything else we need to share, Linda?
Nope, I think that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.